Josh, we led this off with 247 saying, predicting that Tennessee would make the Citrus Bowl playing Penn State. I think they'll do significantly better than that. But Caleb said, yeah, that seems about right. What say you?
I would say what Caleb said sounds about right. Could they be better? Sure, significantly better feels like a big ask considering what this team just did. I think significantly better than the Citrus Bowl would be going to like the Orange Bowl, and to do that you have to be 10-2 probably, and you have to replace key guys: Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Darnell Wright, who helped them be in that position. And maybe it works out. Maybe Tennessee is as good as last season or close to it, but right now that's a big ask considering what Tennessee has to replace from what was a terrific season. And you still have Alabama and Georgia on the schedule. Both are winnable games. That is what has changed about Tennessee football here in the last couple of years, is that those used to be games you just crossed off, just went ahead and threw them in the loss category. And Tennessee will be underdogs in those two games, but can win those games. Tennessee's not going to be a 20-something point underdog this time. So, yeah, I think they go 9-3. I think there's a good chance that they're in that kind of position. So I think that's realistic for this team, considering who the Vols have to replace.
Caleb, let me say this real quick. Punch that like button, smash it, thumbs up. We appreciate that. It brings more people into the program. Josh Ward of the Sports Animal, go.
So Josh, we know you're right. Alabama, Georgia, circled. We've got. I think every Tennessee fan has those games circled. Everybody's ready to cover them. What is Tennessee's potential South Carolina game this year? If there was a game that you could see on the schedule where they should win, but they just might lay an egg for whatever reason, what's the most likely team they would do that against?
That would be against Kentucky. Kentucky is a team that's easy to write off, look past because you've taken care of business there recently. But number one, pay attention to the schedule. Where it falls in the schedule is not ideal to go play there after who you're about to face with Alabama. It is a team that I think will be better this upcoming season than what you just faced in Knoxville this past season. And this past season, Tennessee got Kentucky at a very favorable spot, I would say. And you had the night game, and everybody's fired up. They just completely dominated that game. It will not be as easy to win the game this upcoming season. Tennessee will be the favorite, I imagine, and all off season we should project Tennessee to be better than Kentucky. But if you're asking me to choose the game where we don't necessarily see it coming, and I didn't see that coming against South Carolina last year. That's the one where Tennessee has to be locked in because they weren't in Columbia and they lost. If they're not locked in Lexington this upcoming season, that's without knowing where are they from an injury standpoint. Are they banged up after a really tough game, arguably their toughest game of the season? That we don't know. So that can make it even more difficult. So be ready for a trip to Lexington this year.
So I really think that Tennessee will be better than a Citrus Bowl. I think they'll flirt with those New Year's Six Bowls and flirt with the college football playoff. But if they don't, if it's just the Citrus Bowl, how do you think fans will respond? Because expectations rise way quicker than they should.
So if Tennessee goes 8-4 or worse, I think fans are going to be pretty down on how things will have gone. Not all fans, but a lot of fans will be because of what just happened the season before. I also don't know that that's necessarily fair, but to get to 8-4, that means Tennessee will have lost at least a couple of games that they won't be talking about losing over the next 6 months. So for that to then happen, that's an unexpected disappointment. Well, that never really sits well. If Tennessee's 9-3 and in that kind of position with that kind of bowl game, I think the majority of fans will say, "Okay, did some good things." It won't be celebrated like this past season was and shouldn't be. But if they're seeing individual players progress and they have reason to be excited about what some young players, maybe some of the 23 class, will have done on the field, and they're building at quarterback, and there is Nico anticipation for the 24 season, then I think a lot of fans will look at it as a transition season where you had to replace a top 5 Heisman guy, Bolitnikoff winner, other guys that will have gone on to the NFL, and say, okay, it's college football. We're not Alabama or Georgia yet, but we want to be. 2024, that'll be the goal. But if they can't get to that level, if they can't get to the Citrus Bowl level bowl game, and they fall back below that, then yeah, I think a lot of people will be upset.